So let's jump right into the CSS profile. This is essentially a financial aid application for college, and it's administered by College Board. That's the same organization that runs the SAT and the AP exams. And the CSS profile, or profile for short, is required by about 200 colleges, universities, and scholarship programs across the country. All of those colleges that use the profile also require the FAFSA. So if you see that a school requires the profile, you also have to do the FAFSA. You're going to do the FAFSA for financial aid, and then you're going to do the profile. And to send them to schools, all you do is list the schools when you fill out the application. So you do each application one time, list the schools that you want to receive it, and then it'll be sent off. The profile is essentially used by colleges and universities to award their own financial aid funds. Sometimes we call that institutional funds. So the FAFSA colleges and universities have to use to award federal financial aid and state financial aid. But if colleges, as many of them do, have their own financial aid funds, some of them, 200 about, decide to use the profile to really gather information and then award their own money to students. It does open October 1st every year. So for high school seniors right now, when October 1st hits, they can fill out the profile. I did look at it today. It does look like it might already be open for 25-26, which is what, if you're a parent or a student, high school senior, you're filling out the 25-26 profile because you're really thinking ahead to freshman year will be 2025-26. I'm going to fill out the 25-26 profile. Looks like it might already be open. So after this webinar today, this weekend, you could log on and see if you're able to actually fill out the profile, get your login, and get started. It is also an application that's available for both domestic and international students. The FAFSA is really just for US citizens, permanent residents, but a lot of schools use the profile also for their international population. So it's used for both. Institutions use the profile mainly because it's way more detailed than the FAFSA. And if you've done a FAFSA, it does go into some detail about your finances. Profile asks a lot more detailed questions about your income, about your assets, about who lives in your household. And colleges believe that getting extra information, getting a lot of this detail, helps them more equitably give out, distribute their own financial aid funds. So they opt to use the profile, which they have to pay to use, really to make sure they're getting all the information they can from families to ensure that they're giving out their financial aid fairly. So that's why schools choose to use it. And again, they use it in addition to the FAFSA. It also allows colleges and universities to ask customized questions. So if I'm a university and I really want to know a detail about families that's not already in the listing of profile questions, I can add that as a supplemental question. And you'll see that when you're filling out the profile, that ABC University decided to add this question. When you answer it, your answer is only going to go to that university, and they'll then use that information when they're assessing your eligibility for financial aid. The profile also lets families provide special circumstances, and that basically means you can write a note to the financial aid offices. So you'll see that a little bit further on in the presentation, but you'll have the opportunity to actually type in anything you want to the financial aid offices that review your profile application. If you have a special expense that you want them to know about or a special circumstance in your household, you can actually communicate that in written form. This is where you're going to start to fill out the profile. This is the homepage, just cssprofile.org is where you can go. And you'll see, starting on the left-hand side, high school seniors, as I mentioned, are going to apply for 25-26. So that's the link that you'll click on. You can see there's a list of participating schools. These are the schools that use the profile. Schools have to opt into this list. I don't know why a college wouldn't want themselves listed, but this might not be a 100% accurate list of every school that uses the profile. So if you have a list of schools where your students applying and you want to know which ones require the profile, which don't, the best thing to actually do is to go to each college's financial aid webpage and look to see what the requirements are. Most schools will be listed on this participating schools list on the profile website, but just to be sure, go to every school's financial aid page and find out their requirements if they require the profile. And of course, all will require the FAFSA. Also on this homepage, you'll find some profile tips Information for parents, that's really for parents who have a divorce or a separation, and we'll talk more about that as far as who fills out the profile. And then at the top, you can see there's some resources in Spanish as well. Let me click through and show you. This is the participating schools list. So if you click on that link on the homepage, this is the list that you'll see. This is just the very top of the A's and B's. Every school has a CSS code. Then you'll see the name of the school, the state where it's located. And then you'll see, is this profile, is it used for domestic students? Is it used for international students? So you'll be able to see that. And then you'll see, is it required for non-custodial parents? And we'll go into that in more detail, but some schools do require non-custodial parents to do their own profile. So you'll see that list on there as well. And then some schools use a program called iDoc. It's basically a service where you can submit your documents for schools to review. We'll talk about that too, but that's the listing that shows, does the school use iDoc or not? So you can check on this list. Also, toward the bottom of the homepage are some additional resources about fee waivers for international students, again, about non-custodial parents. So my recommendation is when you go to the profile homepage for the first time, just look at everything on the homepage, review all the resources that are applicable to you, and then you can go ahead and start the application.